That's an interesting shot, isn't it? You can pretty much see my subject matter and my painting in the same viewfinder. That doesn't happen very often. Glad it worked out that way. Okay. Now, all of the white is dry enough to do glazes on top of it. This is always fun. Always fun to do glazes on top of white. And I'm going to start by doing this cool over here on the cool side of the painting. This is all cool because it's either sky or a white house in shade. So all of that is cool. And then all of the rest of it is warm because it's either brown tree or sunshine. I'm going to make this quite a bit darker than my usual. Partly because I just want to go ahead and hurry up and get this, get the whole painting closer to its values and color destination. There. I don't usually rush ahead that much, but I was just in the mood to do so today. Now, with acrylics, you can do, if you're quick, you have, 30, 40 seconds usually. You can do some wiping out. Not much. Usually, all this wiping is left for oil. But there, I've just done a little bit, and that was nice to be able to do that. Now, where do I go next? Let's do some more drawing, not with pencils, but with brushes. Toby, you asked a very good question in the last episode about drawing with pencils, and I hope I get back to it later. Is it easy to overdo it? You asked. And the answer is yes, of course. It's very easy to overdo it, and I want to describe specifically how yes to and how no not to draw with pencils. Okay, need to move my easel a little bit. Sun's coming around just a little bit toward the front of my canvas. It's irritating me quite a bit, by the way. I mentioned earlier to be facing my subject matter with a canvas this large. But I don't have any choice because I'm set up so that the sun is not on my canvas, because it's impossible to paint with sun on your canvas. Let me address the issue of brush strokes. I would like to address the issue of pencil strokes in a little while, but I'm not using a pencil right now, so let's talk about brush strokes. Okay, let's make sure we have our terminology or our mindset clear. So I'm speaking very carefully here. The most important aspect of a painting is play of light. And play of light does not mean, quote, which way is the light coming from. That is not play of light. That's kindergarten, elementary, beginner. And I explain in my book on this chapter that I don't give you any points for getting that right. In other words, don't give yourself any credit for getting which way is the light coming from correct. Now, that sounds kind of mean, but I'm being a good teacher. Here's why I won't let you give yourself credit. You can get kicked out of the club for getting it wrong. See, it's very important. It's so important. If you get it wrong, you are not allowed. You take your ball and bat and go home. You're not allowed to. You get kicked out of the good boy club, good girl club, if you get that wrong. But what I see too often with beginner painters is once they answer that question and achieve what they feel like is a high degree of proficiency, namely, I got the light coming, in this case, from the right, yay for me, they let down their guard and they feel like they've accomplished something of significance, so they stop. When in fact, they haven't accomplished anything. They've done kindergarten level. So you don't get credit until you start doing something dynamic with the light. Light exploding, light shearing, light piercing, like glistering. I'm just trying to make up words. Don't pat yourself on the back. I know I'm being a little bit mean because some of you feel like, well, it took me a long time to learn how to do that. Well, no, it shouldn't have taken you a long time. You probably had a teacher who was mollycoddling you if you feel like it took you a long time to get which way is the light coming from correct. Okay, so play of light is the most important. That's point number one. Now our statement number one. Statement number two. And I'm afraid I'm standing. Believe it or not, I can't move my camera too much because there is a trap, an animal trap at my feet that I'm in danger of bumping with my tripod here. That's the first. Yes, some kind of rodent trap, rat or possum or skunk or some kind of trap at my feet. I hope I'm not ruining somebody's chances of capturing whatever it is they're trying to capture. Anyway, statement number one, play of light is most important. But, now hang on to your hat, the essence of good painting, not the essence of a good painting, no, the essence of doing the act of painting. Now we're talking about the verb. The essence of good painting is interesting marks, making interesting marks. Okay? And left to one's own devices, a student will, when they pick up a brush because they're slightly confused, they don't really know what to do, they don't have a strong intuition of brushmanship, what a student will do is pick up a dry brush and here's what they'll do. They'll go, listen to this. I hope you can hear this. Do you hear that? Those, my friends, are the sounds of bad painting. I can hear bad painting in a classroom with my back turned, because that's what it sounds like. And I have a name for that. I call it brushy, brushy. Brushy, brushy, brushy. That is the sound of confusion. That's what and they don't know what to do. Unless I don't have time to get to it later. It turns out, I didn't put this together till a recent class I was teaching, that left to their own devices, students do the same thing with a pencil. So now that I've introduced to my students the concept of using a pencil in their drawing, here's what I discovered I've gotten. So like if they wanted to make a line for the edge of this tree, I'm using the wrong end of the pencil. Here's how they tend to draw it. Again, I can hear bad drawing. It sounds like this. Did you catch that? That is bad drawing. If your drawing makes this sound, you are not drawing well. So it turns out people use a pencil and do brushy, 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 just like they use a brush and do brushy, brushy. Okay, now somebody's saying, wait a minute, your brush is making that sound right now. Okay. There's a time and a place for filling in. But trust me, I am not confused about what to do with my brushes now. There is a time for making that noise, that brushy, brushy, brushy noise. It's whenever you want to diminish, or as I like to say, a word that is less known, so a little more likely to remember. If your intention is to obfuscate texture, that is, diminish, obliterate texture, then yes, then you can use your brush that way. But otherwise, nope, don't let your brush make that sound. Time to move my easel again. Okay. When I take a break next, I'm going to tell you a honeybee testing out my acrylic paints. I want to say, dear honeybee, there's nothing of interest to you in that pot, believe me. It's a good color, but it's not good for you to eat. I think I can go straight to white now. That's nice. I don't even have to pause. Everything I just put on is dry enough so that I can begin to do my next layer of white stuff. Always fun doing the light. Now the base of this tree is just simple enough that I really am going to try to capture it, if you will, limb for limb, which is a challenge. But I feel like it's not like yesterday's tree where I'm not doing the part up here where it just goes into complete visual chaos. This tree is not like that. The base of it, the part I'm doing, is just simple enough that I should be able to capture it, as I said, limb for limb, stick for stick. Here's some secondary shadows back here. I'll go ahead and get those roughed in. Now, as I talked quite a bit yesterday about how to do trees, and I'll repeat some of it here. The answer is layer by layer by layer. You don't try to capture a tree all at once. How do you eat an elephant? Right? One bite at a time. And very shortly here, my lighting, the light that I was enjoying so much on this tree, is going to be moved enough so that I will have to start working from photographs. In fact, if you'll stay there for just a second, I'm going to get another camera. I'm actually using my old phone these days as a camera, so I'll take a picture in a few minutes because I'll need a photograph to work from. Another trick I discovered that students don't know is students I've discovered tend to be very heavy-handed with their brushes. For instance, if they're using, say, a brush that's a quarter inch long, they feel compelled to make a quarter-inch thick mark. Let me try to demonstrate this. So I'm using here a brush that's, it's a number 4. It's a little more than a quarter. Look, I just made 2 lines that are nearly. It's a very, very light touch on the brush, and I have been a little surprised. It's like, oh, I guess not everybody knows how to do that. Of course, I'm forgetting, aren't I? I am getting to the point where I've been painting for so long, I forget where I learned how to do something, when I learned how to do something, as I don't remember ever not knowing it. But certainly I learned all these things somewhere. So that was a discovery to me. Oh, no, many times with a great big fat brush. So this brush is, and it's not in very good shape, so it's going to be harder. But again, nearly, there you go. In fact, very much a pencil thin line with a brush that's basically half an inch wide. And you can see how I'm doing that. I'm just barely touching the canvas. But let me use this verbiage. You don't paint with the brush, you paint with the paint. What you put on the canvas is not your brush. What you put on the canvas is the paint that's on your brush. You don't need to push the bristles onto the canvas. I hope that makes some sense for you. Now this part of the tree up here is, it's getting into that old chaos. Just, yeah, there's no way I can capture all of those branches. There's tens of thousands of them. It would be nuts, in my opinion, to try to capture every one. Okay, I'm going to pause here, and I will let me watch me take a picture. I'm sure that'll be very exciting. I'm being facetious. Sorry, so here's a picture. Right there. Good enough. So now I have something to paint from. Let me look here before I take a little break, see if you've left any comments. Thanks for dialoguing with me, my friends. And no comments are coming up, so maybe that means there weren't any, which is fine. Oh, there we go. There we go. Took a while. It's still taking a while. Beautiful already, somebody says. Heather, thank you, Heather. Dr. Ice Tea, good to hear from you again. I don't know how you can paint with both hands. Dr. Ice Tea, I'm getting more ornery about that. Have you figured that out? I'm now saying, come on, piano players play with two hands. That's my favorite example. But frankly, nearly every musician you know paints with two hands. You can do it. You can do it. Just make yourself do it. You can learn. Eschew obfuscation. That's right, Heather. That's exactly right. I think of that too. Cool. Thank you. Thanks, folks. Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Very good. I'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks for watching.